Hi all and welcome to a new video. Today we are going to be going over how to miniature wargame on a budget. One of the many things you may have noticed about this channel, and the reason I made it, is that I play a lot of wargames. I have mentioned many of these methods in the past, but wanted to put them all in a single place. Hopefully this helps you on your wargaming journey, and helps you understand that it is not as expensive as it always seems to start miniature wargaming or get into it. Now, the first method is a social method, and that is finding a local group. Finding a group can help you with a lot of things. Just a lot. I have traded for minis and bought them from discounts from members of my local group multiple times. They also let you test out games before spending money, which helps you figure out if you actually want to move forward with that system and spend money. As if you find any local group, 9 times out of 10, they are more than willing to demo something for you. With many people there as well, it is less likely to be a scam like with other methods, due to reputations needing to be upheld in places they use for recreation. You're pretty much less likely to be scammed than using a lot of the other methods of buying secondhand. But also, and this is the best part about it, it also gives you the easiest way to try before you buy, which is the most important thing about miniature wargaming and how to make sure you don't overspend. Don't just buy into a system, try it first. Now that I have gone over method 1, I suppose I should add a little disclaimer as well. This is meant for people who are not painting hobbyists. There are certain wargame selections I collect specifically to paint. Not all of these methods will fit for that hobbyist, but some will still fit. Most of this is geared towards somebody who is actively trying to find a group and trying to find a way to afford miniature wargames. That being said, that doesn't mean don't use these methods to do whatever you want, to paint some more, or something like that. Method 2 is the one that I use most often, and it is Secondhand Sites. I primarily use Facebook Marketplace and eBay, although eBay is kind of useless at times. eBay is where you go to find that 1 in a million deal that's, for some reason, no one else is ever going to bid on. Facebook Marketplace is the place you go for more consistent deals on a day-by-day basis. I reside in the US, so this may be different for other countries as well. Find, trade, buy, sell groups with active moderators on Facebook. Be wary of scams. Don't give out your number. Don't use the Facebook Pay system because it's really easy to charge back on it. Only ever use PayPal goods and services for any of these transactions, as PayPal's customer support is fantastic and can help prevent you from getting hit really hard with scammers. When buying minis, remember, if they are already painted and assembled, they are usually worth 75% at max of retail. A lot of people will claim they have pro paint jobs, and if you see a paint job you really like, it is okay to spend the extra money on it. But just know, for most people and for most resellers, it is genuinely agreed that just having pre-painted minis is not as good. Mostly because you cannot then easily paint them the way you want it to be painted. Or assemble the minis in the way you want them to be assembled. That kind of stuff. When dealing with secondhand sites, remember you are dealing with humans. I have not yet had a bad experience, and source a little over 50% of my minis from these sites. The thing to also keep in mind is when metas shift, someplace like Facebook or eBay will be your best bet to grab that army that just had the meta shifted. For instance, when I first got into Necrons, the meta had all of a sudden shifted and they were really, really bad. And this was back in 9th edition. And I got so many Necrons for pennies to the dollar. I got almost my entire collection during this time period, and I barely spent over $300 for what amounts to roughly 2,000 to 3,000 points of Necrons. And that is still the backbone of what I use in games to this day. Just keep an eye out for deals like that, and you'll be perfectly fine and well on the way to getting an army together. Method 3 is the universal method. Find your friendly local game store. They can run discounts and sales year-round. Keeping track of these and also finding that Games Workshop friendly local game store discount is a must, as many sell them for 10 to 20% under Games Workshop retail value to kind of give people a draw to come in. And it can also add up a lot over time. I support my friendly local game store year-round and recommend you do as well. Find one near you, and while the discounts are not steep as others, it's well worth it as you're supporting a place that gives you a central location to meet with people and play games. In fact, you will most likely find a good friendly local game store when you're trying to go to Method 1, finding a local group. Not all local groups do go to friendly local game stores, but most of the time, because of how things work, these go hand in hand. My FLGS has a lot of terrain and tables for use at any time of the week, as long as you put a hold on them if you really feel like they might be filled up. And that's just amazing and a perfect way to play the game with a large group. Method number 4 is when we go more into the digital age. This is Tabletop Simulator. Tabletop Simulator is a Steam program that costs about $20 when not on sale. This allows you to try out any game for free as it gives you a 3D space to work with and community-made content. Make sure your PC can run it and you're good to go. I have tried out many a list on Tabletop Simulator. In fact, my last video would not have been possible without Tabletop Simulator, as I did not have the budget to buy everything I needed for the separatist lists I wanted. Now, this also gives you the benefit of being able to play at any time and remotely, and while it does take away from some of the social aspect of playing in person, which is one of the reasons I much prefer to play in person, it also leaves a lot of fun times to still be had, and helps you try before you buy, which is the best thing you can do. Some of the biggest regrets I have found in people in my local groups is people who've jumped straight into an army and then realize they don't like the way it plays. Tabletop Simulator gives you the ability to try those armies before you play them, and that is the main reason I recommend it to everyone getting into wargames. This will save you so much time, money, and pain. After all, the most important thing is to make sure you enjoy the army you play, whichever one it ends up being. Method number 5 is the most obvious of all. Try cheaper games. Warhammer 40,000, Age of Sigmar, The Old World, all of these are expensive hobbies that you'll be dropping $300 to $500 on an army for. That is a lot of money. It is a lot of money to ask anyone to just instantly drop on a game. One of my favorite games of all time is Bolt Action, where the average price for an army to play with is under $150. This also goes into price per hour-ish a little bit. I have spent about $250 on my Italian list for Bolt Action, and I have gotten at least 100 hours of painting and gaming out of it. That is $2.50 per hour and counting. So it is an investment well worth it in my eyes. This will not be the same for everyone. However, let us say you spend $150 on a Bolt Action army and play it once a month. Well, you're going to feel like you've made your money's worth way faster than if you spend $500 or $600 on a Warhammer army and play it once a month. And while I am singing praises of it, Bolt Action probably has my favorite activation system of all time, one that I will eventually be making a video on as a prime example of how to do perfect activation systems in a game. While it's not an activation system that would work for every game system, Bolt Action is built around it and shines through with it. And I will continue to sing its praises for as long as it exists. Method number 6 is the newest of the methods, and also the last we have on this list right now. This is a high buy-in method, a 3D printer. 3D printing is a way to get into miniature wargaming. I do not recommend it at all to anyone who is not already interested in getting a 3D printer. I have a 3D printer. I 3D print sometimes. I was unlucky on the draw. I got a printer with many issues I had to work through. I got a Saturn III, and kudos to Elegoo, which is a company I now absolutely love. They sent all the parts to replace with detailed instructions on how to replace it and how it should work afterwards. And now my 3D printer works, and I know it really well. That took months to fix and get running though, and now that it's fixed and getting running, I use it twice or 3 times a year really, as I still prefer to support my FLGS. I really only 3D print when I want a very specific custom mini, which is why I got the Saturn III. I wanted very specific custom minis for my Imperial Guardsmen and my Age of Sigmar Cities of Sigmar army, and I feel like I got my money's worth out of it. That being said, I do not recommend a 3D printer to anyone who is currently getting into wargames. This is more for someone who already is interested in this technology and wants to experiment some with it. Or really for someone who is okay with having their entire army 3D printed, as honestly there's still a slight stigma around it in some certain groups. I myself have issues with 3D printing, especially when it comes to smaller wargames, like something like Bolt Action, that is much cheaper and is a smaller company that needs support. However, 3D printing when it comes to something like Games Workshop, I don't have as many issues with because there are a lot of supply issues, and it is what it is. But the morality of 3D printing is a video for its own, which, honestly, it is a very moral thing to do, because all you're doing is supporting other small creators and getting their nice little STLs. Now, as a final little wrap up on this nice short little video we have made today, please share your own methods for saving money while wargaming in the comments below. I am always happy to learn new ways to save. I hope those of you on the fence have gotten fresh new ideas or motivation to go out there and get into this amazing hobby. As a last aside, I didn't really talk much about wargaming supplies in this video because I feel like each person will have a different preference on paint brands, etc. But if you're just getting in, Vallejo is an amazing company that makes almost everything you need, and find some nice little plastic nippers, maybe for some gunpla nippers and a couple X-Acto knives, and it'll have everything you need except for some plastic glue or Tamiya extra thin cement to get started. I hope I've inspired somebody to at least get an eye on getting into miniature wargaming, and I hope you all enjoyed this video. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next weekend. Bye all.